Now, back to Coastal Living on KZTV.
Welcome back to Coastal Living. We're here with Dr. Chad Peters, and today we're talking about diet trends.
Diet trends, they're
There are a
hot.
lot of
I
them.
mean, the last decade, like I've said with everything, it's a revolution. There's a lot of new stuff going on in the health field, the nutrition field as well.
Absolutely.
You guys are part of this stuff. I know you've heard them, you've done them.
Oh, yes.
And some are just an old diet with a facelift or a new name, right?
I agree.
All of
I
them are.
agree.
Yeah,
Right?
all of
Okay.
them are.
There's nothing new happening. But then, once you correlate that fact, then you're like, okay, well, let me go back and see how that's worked out in
right.
history for other people. So what
Yep.
are we starting with?
Well, let's get into keto. That's kind of
Okay.
the hot one right now,
Big
the keto
time.
diet. Like it's been around for the last 5 or 6 years. It was around in the early 2000s, known as Atkins diet. And there's your typical keto, right? I'm going to eat keto, and all of a sudden I'm just going to end up ripped and probably have a Hollywood blockbuster.
Yeah, totally. Of course, that's what happens.
So
right?
it's out of every diet thing I've ever seen, I haven't seen more emotion attached to anything since keto. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm like a CrossFit guy.
Yeah,
so like
sure.
paleo and primal was huge, and this blows paleo and primal out of the water.
Okay, so for people who have no idea what keto is,
Yep.
let's explain to
So
our audience.
keto is ketogenic. You guys talked about macros yesterday. What you're doing is we're taking carbohydrates, that's all of our kind of primary fuel, and we're switching that to fats. So you have to wake up some like dormant biological machinery that can start burning fats as fuel, and now all of a sudden the magic of keto happens.
Okay.
The problem is that's not what most of your friends are doing. What most of your friends are doing is they're just not eating a lot of sugar and a lot of crap, and so they feel better. So
Sure.
it's not a true keto, and that's really the big debate. I
And
think
why are people losing so much weight though? Because some people swear by it and
right.
they're really getting
So
results.
that's my thing. Yeah, even if you're doing it poorly and you're just decreasing crappy carbohydrates, you're still going to lose some weight.
Of
So I'm
course.
okay for it in any form, despite if it's a true keto or not a true keto. I don't care. Get rid of your crappy foods and you're going to start feeling better.
Right.
Because
Yep.
some people are using it as an excuse to, oh, well, now I can just eat a bunch of greasy bacon
Right.
and a bunch of this and a
And
bunch
do
of
you
that.
remember when that was called Atkins, right? I mean, that
Yes.
was the Atkins diet. That's not keto. I
Okay.
know they call it keto, and they're really ripping it off what it's about, but no, that's
Sure.
not a true keto. Keto is very, very healthy foods. It's avocados, it's coconut oil, it's
Okay.
making these great fuels. Poor fats are just poor, it's garbage. You're
Yes.
still not getting
And
anything.
because your body feels it. Like I've cleaned up my diet recently just to get ready for the wedding, and I feel lighter.
You can feel it.
My gut health is great. Like
Yep.
I've got more energy. It's good.
Yep.
You feel it.
And speaking of the gut, so people with digestive systems,
Right.
me included.
Digestive issues.
Yeah, issues
problems.
with digestive system
Yep.
or anything that correlates to that. How can keto be beneficial for those people, especially
Yep.
if meat I feel like takes such a long time to digest in your stomach?
Yep.
And cheese. I mean, I know cheese is part of the keto diet also, and I don't think that's typically that great for you. So
Cheese is more the modified Atkins, right? So it's just like the high fat, low carbs. But cheese isn't going to fit on a true keto diet
Right.
because it's just mixed with so many other things.
Yeah.
You're talking a whole different animal there with like bacterial gut health, and that's a huge thing. That's the one that I'm super interested in right now because I
that
came off
goes into,
antibiotics at Christmas
like,
time. and I'm
mental
like,
health
clean it.
and stuff too,
Everything.
right? It
Everything.
all goes to your gut.
I talk about inflammation on almost every show I'm in with you guys. If your gut is inflamed, you're inflamed. It doesn't matter. So switching these diets out and trying something different than you've been doing, sometimes you're going to get those benefits. It's
Yeah.
not that keto's built just for gut health, but when you've eliminated Doritos and you've eliminated these thousands of, when you're on keto, you're not eating very many different foods.
No.
Yeah.
You're eating like 5 or 6 different foods, and that's it. So you've
Some
cut
people
all
are
the
like,
junk out.
ugh, that's not my
Yeah,
keto.
yeah, that's right. They're not doing it right. But when you're doing it true, you've cut out a bunch of junk. That's why
Yeah.
you're feeling better.
Okay. All right. So then on to the next one. I have a lot of trouble saying this.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting.
Right. So I was talking to Herschel backstage. He's like, intermittent fasting, like moms and dads invented this. You just
Sure,
don't eat till
yeah.
lunch, you know?
You just
It's
can't.
exactly what it sounds like. You're just not, you're skipping some meals and you're getting a smaller window. So it's also
Okay.
called 18-6, is in 18 hours of not eating, 6 hours of eating.
Is
and
that
you just
the
do it
average
reseated.
window that we have,
Yep.
6 hours?
And you're probably, your biggest benefit of that is exactly what you're talking about. That's the gut health. That's a decrease in your insulin response in your body. So you're starting to get the body just feels better. And it's weird because people think you're going to be starving. I think the picture, I don't know if we had it up there, but it was Tom Hanks, like, on the island. They're like,
me
this
on
is intermittent
intermittent
fasting.
fasting. That would
I've
definitely
worked
be
so
me
hard for this
too.
muscle and I'm wasting away. That's not what it is. You guys,
Okay.
you're really not going to feel hungry at all until you have your first bite of something. Then you're hungry.
Okay.
So then you've got your window to hit it. But it's mostly about cleaning out your diet and much less about you're gonna have decreased calories, right? I mean, you're not gonna be able to slam 2,500 calories into one meal.
Says
So you're gonna
Chad
have
Peters.
that. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Because I'm sure some people are like,
Right,
challenge
right. Well, we could-
accepted. Because some people use that as an excuse, and I've witnessed this, like, oh, I'm doing intermittent fasting. I always want to say fastening. Anyway, where they're scarfing like cheeseburgers, pizza, French fries. They're like, this is my window.
That's like
I can
binge
eat whatever I
eating,
want.
which is what I want to
Yeah, it's binge eating.
So
yes, that's
how
so
can you
good.
train your body to?
The thing is, like our body, just like working out and everything, our body wants some change. If you're stuck and you're unhealthy and you feel miserable every time you wake up and you're 400 pounds, you just have to try some different stuff. So I'm more about these are great options to try to get out there. There's not one that fits everybody.
Okay,
Yep.
great. So moving on to what we discussed yesterday, macros.
Cool.
What are macros and what's up about
So
them?
macros is just science. It's not a diet at all. But because we're in the CrossFit world, because we're in the gym world, macros has become kind of its own animal. So now you'll hear people say like, well, I'm on the macro diet. And all the macro is you're counting your calories and you're counting your nutrients, and you can switch the ratios to do what you want. If I want to gain 20 pounds of muscle, I have to switch my ratio from what I'm eating now to make it a more muscle building setup. If you're trying to drop weight,
It's
you
like
switch
a
your
math
macros to build it out.
equation.
Yeah, every bodybuilder on the planet has become an expert on macros because that's the science.
Yes.
It's not a diet, it's a science. And you guys should all get to know your food. As far as like me discussing, hey Chad, do you like macros? I don't count my food a lot, right? It's too bro-ish for me.
Sure.
But I will tell you, like the full disclosure, like I just needed to change after the Super Bowl. I'm like, cool, we're just gonna start counting. So I'm a macros guy for a while. Yeah,
I'm
we're counting
macros girl right now, just leading up to the wedding, and I've got somebody helping
science,
me, and
man.
it's
It works.
working.
It works. To
It's
me, I just
working.
wish someone prepared it all for me and just said,
That's
just
a
eat this,
lot
then it's done.
easier. Yeah.
Which there are people
Yeah.
out there, so you can look around and find someone credible who will do that work for you. And that's
Yep.
where I struggled. Is I was like, I get what
No,
macros
for
are.
sure.
I just can't figure out what what number is working and what ratio is going to work for me. So I invested in someone to keep track of my body and check.
And when
in
you
with
get
me
online
weekly
and look at your
know.
favorite celebrity and they say, oh, I do macros, this is how I look at it, they've got it prepped. They have
Exactly.
a chef
And not
in-house
just
doing that stuff. And
but
it's
their
perfect.
recipe isn't going to work for you necessarily. Everybody's different.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
well, it depends what your goals are. You know, find your version of fit so you can make the macros fit. You don't want to be doing what the girl on Facebook does just because she does it. You want to do what works for your body.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what macros is really all about. I don't know enough about them, but it's really about kind of keeping up with them and balance and counting your
Yeah.
macros. I've
a
never
ratio
done that
thing.
before.
I
but
think in the last year, it's got skewed similar to how the intermittent, where it's turned into binge stuff, though.
Yes.
They're like, well, I
Everything
wired
does.
my macros just perfectly so I can have a six-pack tonight. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's not kind of
But there is a way to say, sure, I can have that slice of pizza, one,
You can.
since the rest of the day I was very, very on point. So
Yeah.
there are some little baby moves there that you can do to still indulge if
Just
you
make
want
sure
to.
you're
Just
checking
not
it, yeah.
binge eating. And we've got one more to go over, reactive foods. I'm clueless. What are we talking about?
So reactive foods, these are getting really big. So when I wrote that article up, it was scary foods. So I want to do it at Halloween. These are basically things that you can eat and your body will treat it as if it's an allergen. Right,
Okay.
so I think down here in South Texas we tend to call it allergies, but it's not. But reactive foods are typically very healthy foods that just don't work for you. So
Interesting.
it's one of those kind of like the 23andMe that we just had on there. The best group is called Everlywell. You get a blood test; it tells you how reactive you are to different things. Mine were like oats. Right, I'm
Really?
an oatmeal. I'm a granola bar eating guy.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore. Like those things are very reactive to me, and sweet potatoes and any kind of potatoes and nightshades I'm very reactive to. Well, if you're eating these day after day after day, that's when you start wondering like, why am I not feeling better? And how it all came to be with the reactive foods is kind of before it got popular. My wife was asking me like, how come you don't have abs, man? Like you work out all the time, you eat really well. Like why do you not have
What are you
abs?
trying
I'm like,
to
I don't know.
say?
Yeah, why do I not have abs? You know, but I think it was because two of my meals a day were oats based. Like it's your
reactive.
body
Okay.
just treats it wrong. It tries to flush it out of your system, and that takes extra water. So you're always carrying this 7 to 8 pounds of water with you.
Yeah.
And then you do it 20 years in a row, and you wonder why you have digestive issues like irritable bowel or Crohn's
Yes.
or colitis. These are the fixes. So
Interesting.
when
And
you start figuring out the reactive foods, you're fixing your body. Now you're getting the gut health turned back on.
I feel like this is probably the one that you relate to most.
Oh,
with proteins,
absolutely.
right?
With proteins, with
Yep.
any types of meat, beef especially.
Yep.
And it's funny that I mean I'm not making fun, but your wife said I can't believe you don't have abs. I feel like I hear so many people say I'm going on all these diets and I don't see results.
It's almost always reactive food. It fits into all of them.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Now, the biggest reactive food out there that everyone thinks about is gluten.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, gluten got huge. It's got its own aisle at HEB.
Right.
Gluten's like a guy in the band. It's not even the biggest rock star. Like
Yeah.
these are called lectins, and those are what you're reactive to, and they're in all kinds of foods. So if you want to dive really, really deep into this stuff, you want to start looking at lectins. So that's kind of your next level up.
Can we make that like one of our next topics?
Lectins,
Because I
oh
would
man,
love
it goes
to
deep
have
though.
time
It's
to
a
dive
huge
into
rabbit
this.
hole.
I
It's
would
scary
love to
because
learn
you're
more
like,
about that.
everything's got lectins. How do we deal with it? But yeah, I'm
not to
happy
get
to talk about that
paranoid,
stuff.
But we definitely want to encourage our viewers. You know, I definitely learned a lot through this segment, so I hope that you did too. Thank you for your time and for
Thanks, Dr.
touching
Chen.
on a few of these different fad diets or just diets to try. And we hope you learned a lot.